My name is Dmitro. I'm from 1914 from Ukraine, and nice to meet you.
Thanks for joining us this evening.
Morning here.
Morning over there. Nice. Now, 1914 released your fourth album, Viribus Unitus, on November the 14th. So, how are you feeling about it?
I don't know how I must feel about it. Okay, I'm happy that at least I'm still alive to because I'm from Ukraine, so
Yeah,
it's
true.
not bad. It's not bad at all in our circumstances. So at least we did this and we finished this album and we will release it on Napalm Records. And I feel really, I don't know, let's call it some happiness. because I'm allowed to do this and it's not bad at all.
Very cool. Now, can you dive into the album a bit deeper from a musical perspective and then tell us what you were going for musically this time around?
Okay, so with this album, we started with, of course, our album based on the real historical events and with a lot of research, historical research, with a deep concept and so on. But with this album, we started in completely different way. We based it the whole album based on the life of the one soldier. This is a soldier from my hometown, Lemberg, the western part of Ukraine called Galicia. And the Galicia historically was the part of Austro-Hungarian Empire. So this is the war pass of the one soldiers when he faced the war in the very beginning of the First World War.
Uh-huh.
And, the Russians invaded my hometown, Lemberg, and his regiment must to retreat, and he faced it with huge battles like Galician battles for Galicia, and Przemysl offensive, like the siege of Przemysl forts, and so on. And the story begins actually in 1914. Like for everyone in the Great War, and actually his war pass from his hometown to the Przemysl fortress, from Przemysl fortress to the Carpathian Mountains, from the Carpathian Mountains directly to the Italian front. 2 years on the enormous and madness Italian front with a lot of shells, with a lot of explosions and guns and so on. And after that, the captivity, and run away from captivity together with his friends from Ljubljana, Slovenia, and from one Polish guy. And he back home from captivity through the Austria. He went back home and died in the last day of the Chortkiv offensive in this event called like Ukrainian Polish War. So this is the aftermath of the First World War directly on in our region.
Yeah, wow, that's a lot. And the title is Latin for with united forces. So how does that statement relate to the overall story arc?
First of all, with the United Forces, Viribus Unitis, it's mean, there was an old punk rock song from Shem 69. If the kids were united, they will never be divided. So it's a little bit reference like this. First of all, like we were one empire, one United Nations in the time of the First World War. Yeah. So this motto of the Franz Joseph means this. Viribus Unitus with the United Forces, like Croatian people, Polish people, Slovak people, Ukrainian people, everyone were involved in the one huge Austro-Hungarian Empire. And we were united in this.
Yep.
Do we love each other? Of course not. But. And for me, this reference from the First World War and some breach from World War One to nowadays, because right now we have faced it more than 11 years. We face it with the Russian aggression, and they invaded us, and we face it with the war more than 11 years. And for me, Viribus Unitus with the United Forces, it's some like, come on, we need to be united, support us, let's do it together, let's fight against the same enemy, against this imperialistical scum. Let's fight together. Polish people, Baltic people, Finnish people, everyone. Let's be united. Sound like this.
It makes life a lot easier if that happens, doesn't it? It does. So, yeah. So you sort of touched on this a little bit, but you've created a unique conceptual perspective with the narrative taking place across that timeline from 1914 to 1919 through the accounts of one Ukrainian soldier. Like, it's a fascinating way to approach the album. Like, where did the initial idea come from?
You know, I'm a historical nerd, and every time with every album, I'm digging deep with a lot of war memoirs, some soldiers' letters, and so on, a lot of materials, you know. And I perfectly know the Russian language, Ukrainian language, Polish language, and so on, a little bit German. So I could afford, you know, to find a little bit more information, for example, in war archives, because I could read not only, for example, just Ukrainian documents, but Polish documents,
Right.
or some German documents, or some Russian documents. So that's why I'm digging deep and just, you know, I'm combine everything in one huge concept. And of course, because I'm a historical nerd and I'm a fan of the, probably it would be wrong wording, like I'm a fan of the Great War. No, I'm not a fan of war at all, but I'm a historical fan of everything behind of it, you know, like a soldier's fate, the storytellings, like war events, and even remnants, and even you can see
Wow.
some German rifles here or French helmets here. I have a lot of some military stuff in my house, so I'm a fan of that period. So that's why I'm combining everything in one huge concept, and we working with this, something like this.
Yeah, no, so across the 11 songs on the album, like we witnessed the onset of war, you got the extremities of war, then you got the emptiness that follows. Like it must be a very emotional process for you going through all of that creative process and living that life to an extent. Was it hard?
Of course, it's about emotions because, as I told you previously, more than 11 years we faced with the war. We live in a country with war. And more than 3 years, we live in a country actually with a full-scale invasion. Every time we have a drone attacks, cruise missiles here, air sirens, air raids, and a lot of my friends have died. You know, it's really it's complicated. Our guitar player now in the army, so it gives you a lot of emotional background, and of course, it's not about positive vibes and positive emotion. It's 100% about hate and anger. So that's why this album, I assumed actually as one of the, not one, our most aggressive album, just at all. And that's why it's always about personal emotions, as I told you, about hate and anger, and a little bit about grief and some sadness because a lot of losses. And and of course, the second part of album, really personal stuff, because you know it came. Of course, it's about our protagonist, but lyric came with some of my perspective and my personal feelings. You know, I split it with my daughter more than 3 years already. She stayed in the safe and peaceful Europe, in Slovenia, Ljubljana, and I'm staying here in Ukraine. So it's really complicated when you cannot hug your, you know, embrace your daughter, for example. And it gives me a lot of not positive vibes and a lot of emotions. So that's why I even in our lead gives a lot of, you know, like a personal stuff, like I want to embrace my daughter, I want to embrace my wife, and so on. Yes, it's about, it's 100% percent about emotions. It's not only about, you know, like let's play some fucking metal, or let's record in the new metal album. Let's record in the new metal album. No, fuck this shit. Let's spread all our hate. Let's spread all our anger, all our feelings, emotions. Let's, you know, like spit in the face of the crowd because we are full of it. and we wanna share it with you, something like this.
Yeah. Does it take a while to disassociate after you finish the album? Like, I know you've got a lot going on anyway, but the feelings that you'd have to harness to make that album, like, does it stay with you for a little while when you're finished?
Mm. um, okay, we are staying in Ukraine, and
Yeah.
I don't know how we allowed to traveling across the Europe and playing some gigs with this album or don't. I don't know. So it depends, and every time we faced with the different circumstances, like situation on the battlefields, for example, the fucking Trump with his madness ideas and madness politics every time as something new for Ukraine, and we just don't know how to react with all this shit, and this shit affects, of course, affects our country, and a lot of things, different shitty things you faced every day, and I just cannot build some plans or live my own life like normal people do. And it's not only about me, it's about all Ukrainians. We are all here, and we volunteering, we are all war volunteering, and right now in Ukraine, if you are male, you could be just only in two positions: for the front or on at the front.
Wow.
And a lot of my friends are actually right now in the trenches, and we as a band, we are war volunteering, we collecting all donations, all money what we can earn from the gigs, from the merch and so on, and we bring it back and donate to the regiments. We buy some armored vehicles and a lot of medicine, helmets, armored plates, and so on. In that type of circumstance, build some musical plans or plans with the touring or plans with a grow up as a band is just not possible.
Sorry to hear that, bro.
I just give you
Yeah,
a
no,
little bit
I'm, I'm,
context about it.
I'm learning something here. This is it's amazing what you go through, bro. And you're still smiling. How the fuck do you do that?
uh, Come on, man. At least I'm not in the trench right now. I have all my limbs, and I stay in my house,
Mm.
and enormous amount of Ukrainian men's do not give this, do not have this, and that probably I'm not in so bad situation and condition. So yes, I'm still smiling because because
Yeah.
my mind will blow up if I'm falling in some depression or something like this. No, you must smiling because
Ah,
it's just a reaction of your mind.
it is. So let's talk some more music and get you smiling some more, brother. Like you accentuate the sonic landscape of your music with things like samples, and there's war speeches in there. There's sounds of battle. Like how difficult was it to integrate those elements into the sonic palette that you've created?
With every our album, I'm the man behind of the whole samples, soundscapes, noisy stuff, and so on. I'm a huge fan of the industrial, martial, and noise music. Yeah, I'm a huge fan, for example, like Merzbow and Sturzenbauten and so on, bands like this. And every time with every our album, I'm just digging and try to catch something original, sounds, original speeches, and original samples. I try to cut from something from the interesting movie, and just it gives you, when you go through the album, it gives you a chill, like some cinematic stuff. Like you are not just only listening to music, but you are probably at the cinema with a good movie. You know, and it gives you a little bit more understanding about what we singing about. And of course, I love this type of musical creation. Like you find some soundscape, you place some noisy stuff, some drones, and some original sounds, and it gives I don't know, or it gives you, or just for me, but it gives a little bit goosebumps, like, yes, yes, it's about atmosphere. It's
Yeah.
about the original stuff, you can dive in deep with all this additional sounds, as for me. And
Yeah.
I hope it works with the people too.
Well, it does, but like it's not as if you could just put them in anywhere. You can't just go right. I'll throw that in there, and I'll throw that in there. Like, how hard is it? How much planning do you have to put into it to place those things in the right places to make it have maximum effect?
I when we started with a new, for example, new song or the whole album, I already got in my mind the whole picture and the whole concept,
Right.
actually, because we started not with some guitar riffs or like blast beats or like a typical metal band. No, we started with a historical research, and I bring some bullet points of the storytelling and bullet points of the lyrics, upcoming lyrics, and provide it to my guys and explain everything behind of it. And we started like this. And immediately when we talking, for example, I don't know, like the siege of Przemysl, yeah, the song about the biggest siege during the First World War, and enormous amount of people were there, and just in 3 days of attack, more than 40,000 of dead Russians, and so on. And I give all this historical stuff to my guys, and they preparing the music. But in my head, I already have prepared, like the complete vision of the song, and I understand. Okay, here I will place probably some original sounding, Martian sounding, because it's about Martian, it's about braveness, because it's the first day of just first day of the Great War, and everyone, like, we are imperial soldiers, let's kill all our enemies, and they thought that war will end it just in a few months, and everyone were filled with all this, like blood rage. And that's why I'm trying to combine it with right sounds, and probably it works because you are asking about it, so probably it works.
Now, excuse my ignorance here, buddy, but I noticed that all of your albums start with a track called "War In," and they all end with the song "War Out." So, what's the thought process behind that?
It's the same stuff what I talked to you previously, because it gives you some diving intense, like, war out. You are entering the war, you are entering this good movie or this good book, and go through it, just it's like in not a typical intro, but it's about involving you to our story, like diving deep with this. And it gives you a right vibes, a right chills, and you like, okay, okay, I like it, and I go through it from A to Z, something like this. And that's why we always use this war in and war out, like you are diving and you're returning back.
Right, that's amazing. Well, thanks very much for your time, mate. It's been fascinating conversation. I enjoyed that. The album Viribus Unitas is out November 14th, and I had to listen before this, mate, and just wow. What you've done there musically, brother. Hats off to you. It's a really good effort, bro. So congratulations, and hopefully we do see you out on the road one day.
Thank you.
It'd be a travesty if you didn't get to play this shit live, brother.
Ugh, as one blind man said, let's see.